started. Please say prayers, whoever knows the prayers. Om Ajnanatirmirandhasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapad Kamlam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Satam Sajivam Sadhvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesh Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishmanu-sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakaltarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Guruve Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namah Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So, I thought we'll cover this important part from Srimad Bhagvatam. I think everybody here is familiar with Srimad Bhagvatam, so I'm not going to speak about that at all. So, you know, Bhagavatam is a very wonderful book. It's the topmost scripture, topmost Puran. It's called Amal Puran because it's a book that gives you Krishna Prem or divine love. So, but there are 4 verses in it. In any scripture, there are these what we call seed verses or mool verses, which are the key, which kind of summarize or condense, like a condensed version of the whole book. So in Bhagavad Gita, there are Chatuh Shloki, meaning 4 verses which summarize the entire content of Bhagavad Gita. Similarly, in Srimad Bhagavatam also, there are 4 key verses that summarize the entire content of Bhagavatam. And these 4 verses were spoken by none other than Supreme Lord himself. Okay. Anyone knows what are the 4 key verses or Chatur Shloki from Bhagavad Gita? Can anybody name them or number anything? Okay, Nagarjun Prabhu knows. Yes, Prabhu.
10.8, 9, 10, 11.
Yes, Hari Bol. So 10.8, 9, 10, 11, right? So those are the 4 very important verses. They come in the chapter. Opulences of the absolute, or basically Vibhuti Yoga, in which Krishna has listed his Vibhutis, his opulences. So, but let's talk about the Chatur Shloki, the 4 verses from Srimad Bhagavatam. I'll give you the context in which they were spoken, to whom they were spoken, and they're very beautiful. They are, I mean, even if you're not familiar with the content of Srimad Bhagavatam, they'll still appeal to you. So even if you don't know any thing about spiritual science, or you may be the topmost scholar in spiritual science, either way, they will appeal to you. But let's start with some Bhagavatam prayers. Everybody, please follow. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Please, whoever knows the prayer, say with me. Nārayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudiriye nashtaprayeshva bhadreshu nityam bhagavad sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namah. Okay, so let's get started with Chatur Shloki Bhagavatam. So the context of this is that at the beginning of the creation, when Brahmaji was born, if you know that Brahmaji appeared on the lotus flower from the navel of which Vishnu? There are 3 types of Vishnu. So I need some participation today, okay? Because since I'm not able to speak, I need people to speak. Garbhodaksha Vishnu. And if different people can answer, that will be nice, so that it's not the same person answering. So yes, from the navel of Garbhodaksha Vishnu, who rests in the Garbhodak ocean, there appears a lotus flower. Okay, the stem of the lotus flowers appears from the navel of Garbhodaksha Vishnu, and on that lotus, Brahmaji appears. So this is how Brahmaji was born. Okay, Brahmaji is born at the beginning of creation like this. So when Brahmaji was born, when he opened his eyes, when he came to consciousness, he was given some knowledge in his heart. Okay. Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Kabe, right? Muyyat Tiyat Surya. That is the first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, where it is said that the knowledge was given to Brahmaji in his heart. And the knowledge was given for his service. He was told what he needs to do, what is the purpose of his life. Okay. What is his purpose? What is his service? What is Brahmaji's service? Who can tell? Creation, right? Secondary creation. Secondary creation is also known as, in Bhagavatam language, if anybody knows, what is secondary creation known as? Visarga, right? Sarga is primary creation, Visarga is secondary creation. So he was given the task of secondary creation. This knowledge came to him. But he was perplexed, he was confused because he was given this service, but he doesn't have the know-how to do it. He doesn't know how to do this. So he was meditating on, and he could not see where he came from. Like he could see that he exists, but if he looks down the lotus flower, there is just darkness. He can't see anything. He can see the stem of the lotus flower, but he can't see anything else. So he doesn't know where he originated from. So he's very confused. Who's giving me this service and how should I do it? So he started meditating. Okay. And in that meditation, he started hearing 2 syllables. What were the 2 syllables? Who said that? Somebody said, yes, ta, pa. He said ta, pa. He heard ta, pa, which means what? Tapa means what? Tapasya, austerity, right? So which means that he has to do some austerity. So he got this understanding that he has to do austerity. So he did austerity for many years, okay? His lifetime, you can imagine it's very, very long. So he did, according to his lifetime, he did a very long austerity, okay? After that austerity, and this comes in 2nd canto, by the way, if you know, so we are reading from 2nd canto today, okay? So he got this understanding, and this is 9th chapter, 2nd canto. He got this understanding that he has to do austerity. He completed that austerity, and at the end, he got this beautiful darshan of Vaikuntha-lok. So the beautiful darshan are described. He could see Lakshmi ji, he could see the surbi cows, the beautiful kalpavriksha trees and whatnot, right? Can anybody give the description of the Vaikuntha Loka from any of the verses? There are many scholarly people here, so I want to hear some knowledge, some nectar come from you also. So give me the description of Vaikuntha Loka or Krishna's spiritual abode. Well, actually, let's hear about Golok Vrindavan, not Vaikuntha Loka. Yes, Prabhu, can you recite the verse? Yes, that's what I was looking for. Who can recite that verse? Yes, go ahead. Surabhi Layantam
Lakshmi Sahasra Sambrahmasevyaman
Bhajami. So this is beautiful words from Brahma Samhita 5.29. Okay. So there the description is given. So he can see this beautiful description that Nagarjuna Prabhu and Prabhuji just recited, that there is these beautiful Chintamani gems and kalpavriksha trees and surbi cows and millions of Lakshmis and attending to the millions of Narayans like that. So he can see this, and he got the darshan of the Lord also. Okay. So then Lord, it's beautiful how Prabhupada has described it. It said that Lord and Brahmaji shook hands. and this is described twice. I don't know how Vedic handshake is, but basically they shook hands. And then Brahmaji also recognized it. Brahmaji got very excited. Lord shook hands with me. So Brahmaji actually acknowledged this with Lord. He said, now that you have shaken hands with me, because now he got very encouraged, right? Now I can ask many things because he's completely lost here. He doesn't know what to do. So he's very now encouraged. Okay, let's ask some questions. You know, the Supreme Lord himself is here. So he decided to ask him some questions. Okay. Okay, we'll come to this. I'll come back to this. So he asked him 4 questions. Okay. So these come right before Chatuh Shloki Bhagvatam. Chatuh Shloki Bhagvatam, the 4 verses that Lord spoke to Brahmaji are basically the answers to those 4 questions. Okay. So I'm just going to give you like grossly, mota mota, Brahmaji, what did Brahmaji ask? I'm not going to spend time on this, just quickly read through this. But basically he asked about Lord's forms, okay, material and spiritual forms. How can he exist in both types of forms? He asked about Lord's energies, material and spiritual energies. He asked about how you perform work or activities through those energies. And then he said, this service that you have given me, I will carry out this service according to your instructions, but please show me how to do this service in such a way that I do not become proud. Okay. So remember, Brahmaji is the Param Guru of our sampradaya that we are following, right? We are following which sampradaya are we following? Which sampradaya we belong to? Okay, you can wait. Let's hear from, Brahma, Gaudiya, Madhva sampradaya. So who's the main hero here? Main guru? Brahma, right? Then Gaudiya, Madhva. So Brahmaji is our main founder acharya of this sampradaya. So Brahmaji is setting the standard that when you are given a service, first of all, you have to do tapasya like he did, right? You have to meditate, you have to do austerity, you have to take instructions. So he did all this. You have to ask proper questions in submission from your guru, which his guru is Supreme Lord. And he's asking that I may not become proudful, that I may not become arrogant of this service, because secondary creation, Visarga, is a very, very important job. I mean, there are people who think, in fact, Narad Muni himself thought that Brahma, his father, is actually the Supreme Lord. It's just described in the 2nd canto that he approached Brahmaji and said that, oh, are you the Supreme Lord? So then Brahmaji had to correct him. No, I'm not the Supreme Lord. I'm just doing the work of Supreme Lord. So I'm the secondary creator. I'm not the primary creator. But it's a very important job because people will give you honor and respect and what not. So this is the last thing he asked. Now, now we will hear the answers in a minute. But before Krishna starts speaking these 4 verses in answer to Brahmaji's questions, he will say this verse. This is verse 31. Our Chatuh Shloki will start from 33. Okay, 33. So 2.9.33, 34, 35, and 36. These 4 are the Chatuh Shloki Bhagavatam. Okay, 4 verses. So just a couple verses before that, 31. This verse is considered the table of contents. You know how like in a book in the front, there is an index table, right? There's a table of contents, which gives you a quick review of where what is. So he gives this verse to tell him that these are the 4 things I'm going to tell you about, okay, in Chatuh Shloki. So he says, Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Jnanam Parma Guhyam Me Yad Vijnana Samanvitam Sarahasyam Tadangam Cha Grihana Gaditam Maya. So he said, I will give you Gyan. Okay, Gyan about what? Param Guhyam, my topmost confidential knowledge. Okay, so in Bhagavad Gita also there is a chapter which is called most confidential knowledge. Who knows which chapter is that? Chapter 9, right? Rajvidya. So there is a most confidential knowledge. So Krishna gives this most confidential knowledge in Bhagavad Gita also. So he said, I'm going to give you Gyan. Gyan means knowledge about the most confidential knowledge. Okay. Yad Vigyan Samanvitam. But that Gyan you have to assimilate through Vigyan. What is the difference between Gyan and Vigyan? Vigyan is realized knowledge. Vigyan is scientifically applied knowledge, right? Gyan is just theoretical knowledge. Gyan is just philosophy, just class book or textbook knowledge. But Vigyan is applied knowledge, realized knowledge that you apply outside of class in your daily life. It's a day-to-day knowledge. So this is Vigyan. Okay, so this Vigyan will help you assimilate that Gyan. Sa Rahasyam, and I'm going to give you the Rahasya. Rahasya means I'm going to give you the. Now this is bigger than Guhyam. Okay, Guhyam is very confidential, but Rahasya means that I'm going to take you into the secrets, the very intimate secrets of my life, which is basically the goal of our life. That is, I will take you towards Prema Bhakti. So Rahasya here refers to Prema Bhakti or Krishna Prema. Okay, the ultimate goal of any devotional service is, or any spiritual path, any spiritual discipline is to achieve this Rahasya, this Prema Bhakti. Okay, so this is the 3rd topic. The 4th is Tad Angam Cha. Tadangam means the process that you will follow. Okay, the limbs of devotional service that you, Anga means what? Anga means limbs, right? So the devotional limbs or sadhana bhakti that you will follow to achieve that rahasya. So he said, I'm going to give you knowledge. I'm going to give you realized knowledge. I'm going to give you prema bhakti, and I'm going to give you the anga, matlab sadhana bhakti. Okay, what are we doing here? The sadhana bhakti, right? Who thinks we are doing prema bhakti? Are we at prema bhakti right now or sadhana bhakti? Sadhana bhakti, right? Sadhana bhakti has certain angas. Can anybody name any angas of sadhana bhakti? Any limbs of devotional service? You all are doing at least most of them here today. Yes. So in that way, there are 9 limbs of devotional service, right? Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, Archanam, Vandanam, Sakhyam, Atma, Nivedanam, Pad Sevanam, right? All those. Dasyam. So he said, so these are the 4 topics that I'm going to discuss in Chatuh Shloki. But let's get started because I want to finish this, and I'm not going to go too deep into this, but I think this will give you a very good understanding of Chatuh Shloki. So if you listen carefully today, you will have a good grasp of this 4 verses. Okay. Okay. So the first verse of Chatuh Shloki, what number is that? What did I tell you? What number did I mention? You were not even here, Mataji. So 2.9.33. Okay. So that is the first verse. Let's call it Chatuh Shloki 1. Okay. CS1. How about CS1? CS1 or 33, that verse and the second verse both talk about Sambandh Gyan. Okay. Anyone is familiar with this? There are 3 terms. Anyone is familiar with those 3 terms? Poonam Mataji. आपको भी पता है ये तीन नाम जो होते हैं, संबंध, अभिदय और तीसरा क्या होता है, कौन बताएगा? Third, the ultimate goal, the result, the outcome. Prayojan. Sambandh, Abhiday, Prayojan. Is everybody familiar with these? I really want, okay, Sambandh, Abhiday, Prayojan. Okay, Sambandh is, so Sambandh Gyan means our relationship with Krishna. Okay, so for example, a boy is approaching a girl, right? First of all, he needs to know everything about her, right? So how would he please her? In order to please her, he needs to know her about her hobbies, her interests, what kind of food she likes, so that he can take her to those kind of restaurants, right? So he can buy her those kind of gifts, right? So he needs to know about her. So you need to have some knowledge about that person. So you need to have some connection with that person. So Sambandh is basically establishing some connections, some relationships, some knowledge about that person. Okay. So 33 and 34 gives you Sambandh Gyan. Then you follow that process. Once you have this knowledge, let's say I know, okay, Krishna likes that we should be in mode of goodness. We should not eat certain things. We should be detached. We should be patient or tolerant or loving, whatever. You know, Krishna has given us some instructions in Bhagavad Gita that I expect you to be like this, right? So we start following that process, right? We start eating certain foods. We start avoiding certain foods. Waking up at times. He would like if we chant his names, if we call out his name. So we start chanting his names. We start going to temples, to programs, to festivals like that. So basically, we start following a process. So the process in Sanskrit is called Abhiday. Okay, Abhiday is given in CS4. CS is Chatuh Shloki 4. So the first 2 verses are giving you the relationship. The 4th verse is giving you the process. Result is given in the 3rd verse. Result is then finally the boy and girl will get married, right? The girl will be pleased with him and she will accept to get married to him, right? So that's the outcome, that's the result. So similarly, if we follow this devotional process, this sadhana bhakti, what will we get? What will be the result? The prayojan? Krishna prema bhakti. So sambandh means establishing a relationship with our loved one, okay, getting some knowledge about them, having a relationship. Abhiday means following a process, and prayojan means the final outcome of getting their love. So sambandh is given in first 2 verses of Chatuh Shloki. Prayojan, the result, is given in the 3rd verse. Thoda ulta hai, okay? Or 4th verse mein diya hai the process, the abhiday, okay? So this is just a brief outline of how these will go. Now Mahaprabhu, I've taken this from Chaitanya Charitamrita. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela actually, Mahaprabhu has mentioned this. So this is not something that I came up with or that any of our scholars came up with. This is coming from Mahaprabhu. He said he went to Varanasi. This is his picture when he's preaching in Varanasi. So in Varanasi, when he was preaching, he gave this understanding that Bhagvatera Sambandha Abhideya Prayojan Chatur Shloki Prakatara Kariya Che Lakshan. The Chatur Shloki has given us Sambandh, Abhideya and Prayojan with the Bhagwan. How to achieve this connection with the Lord, follow what process and what result. Okay, so he said Chatur Shloki has given us this. So that's why I have mentioned this Chatur Shloki. So let's start with CS1. We'll recite this verse, only 4 verses. We'll try to go through them very quickly, okay? So first verse is this. Aham eva same, everybody can recite, it's on the screen. Aham eva samevagre nanyat yad satparam paschad aham yadetacha yo veshishyata sasmiham. So what is this verse saying? Krishna is saying aham. If you look at this verse, he says aham 3 times. Aham se shuru hota hai verse, right? Then in the 3rd line also he says aham. Then in the 4th line also he says aham. So he's talking about me. He's becoming very personal here with Brahmaji. He said that aham evasam evagre, I existed before all of this creation. Okay. Nanyad, when there was nothing else but myself, even then there was nothing else, just me. Not even anything sat or asat. So all this Brahman, Brahma Jyoti, people say that Brahman is the supreme destination, right? So Prabhupada has condemned this understanding. You know that, right? We know that supreme absolute truth, the personality of Godhead is our absolute destination, not Brahman. So he said, even before this Sat, this Brahman existed, I existed before that. And whatever Asat, this material stuff existed, I existed before that. Paschat aham yadetacha. After this also only I will exist. Yo vashishyata, so asmiham, and only I will remain. Okay, so before, during, and after, I'm the only one that matters. Okay, I'm the one that existed before. I'm the one that exists during, and even after annihilation or after destruction of everything, I'm the only one that exists. Okay, so basically, Krishna here is, how is he giving us the sambandh here? How is he giving us the relationship? He's telling us that he is our father. He's our supreme father. He's the original person, right? He's the Adi Purush. Govindam Adi Purusham Tamham Bhajami. That is why, so this knowledge is going to Brahmaji. That's why Brahmaji offers those prayers, saying that Govindam Adi Purusham. He keeps saying that over and over again because he has seen Govinda to be the Adi Purush, right? So Govinda himself told him that I'm the Adi Purush. I existed before anything else. So he's saying that I'm the original person, right? So in this regard, okay, let's take some, because this is very philosophical. I don't have to take on a very philosophical topic today, but let's take some. Can anybody mention some verses from different scriptures where Krishna says that he's the Supreme Lord, or somebody else says about him that you are the Supreme Lord? Okay, Navya knows one. Okay, I need, how about Poonam Mataji, Anita Mataji, give me some participation. And if Radhika, please, I don't know if you, huh? Ooh, Hari Bol. Very good, yes. So that's this first verse of Chatur Shloki Bhagavad Gita, and you're quoting that in context with Chatur Shloki Bhagavatam. You see how aligned they are, right? So he's saying that I was the original person. I existed before everything. Everything comes from me. And that's what you're saying. Can you recite it? Hari Bol. So that's 10.8, right? Very good. So yeah. So he's saying everything comes from me. Anything from Bhagavad Gita, please give me some. Okay, Navya, go ahead. And that is Brahma Samhita, right? First verse, 5.1. Vinita, you would know some. So say something from Bhagavad Gita. Yeah, we're looking for where he says he's like the supreme person. Like everything comes from me. He's the origin of everything. Yes. You are on the right track, but you're talking about Sarvyoneshu Kantya. Yes. Okay. Can you recite now? Okay. सर्वयोनिषु कौन्तेया मूर्त्य सम्भवन्ति या तासां ब्रह्म महत्योनि aham bij pradapita. Yes. So you were perfectly, yeah, you're on track. So that I'm the supreme seed giving father, right? And you reciting which one? Yes, Haribol. So he said Krishna's to Bhagwan Swam. So we are looking for where he said that he's the original person. He's the original personality of Godhead. He's the source of everything. All expansions, all plenary portions, incarnations, everything comes from him, right? So and then in 15th chapter, the supreme person. So there he declares himself to be the supreme person many, many times. He says, Yo mamevam asammudo janati purushottamam sa sarvavid bhajati mam sarva bhavena bharata. And many other places he says, Pitaham asya jagato mata dhata pitamaha vedyam pavitram omkara riksama yajurevacha. That I'm the mata dhata pitamaha pita, everything. I'm the grandfather, mother, father, guru, everything. Yes, you were saying anything? This word is yellow because this word is highlighted. It said that there was nothing else but myself. So this is because Prabhupada has highlighted on this during in his purport a lot, that people think that we are spiritual beings, we are sentient spiritual beings. So we are also existing from time immemorial. We existed at the same time as Krishna existed. But here Krishna is saying, no, nothing else existed. Even you did not exist. I am your source. So he's our source, and he's the source of Brahman also. That is also given in Bhagavad Gita, that he's the source of the Brahma Jyoti or the effulgence also, right? So that's why I highlighted it, because nothing else existed. No, Nanya means nothing else existed. I was the only one. And then not only he existed, but when we say he existed, it also means his abode existed. Okay, his associates in the abode existed, but not the material world. The material world did not exist. Material world came later, right? But the spiritual world existed. Vaikuntha Loka existed. The associates in the Vaikuntha Loka, his leelas always existed since time immemorial, right? He's been doing his leelas since time eternal. So, so this is the first verse where we are basically understanding that everything comes from him. 10.8. Also Janmadhyasya, right? Janmadhyasya yadoanmaya ditaratas charteshva bhigya swarat tene brahma hridaya dikave muyanti yat suraya tejo vari mridam yatha binimayo यत्र त्रिसर्गो मृषा धाम्ना स्वेन सदा स्वहस्तकुहकं सत्यं परं धीमहि. So that's the first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, where he said that I was the only one that existed. Everything comes from me. So many places it is said. This is the first verse of Chatuh Shloki. So he said, Brahma, it is I who was existing before the creation, when there was nothing but myself, nor was there the material nature, the cause of this creation. That which you see now is also I. So even now what you see is me. Basically, me means that everything is in relation to me. And after annihilation, what remains will also be I, the personality of Godhead. Okay. So everybody understand, this is the knowledge he has given about himself. This is the knowledge about absolute truth, that he is the supreme original person. He is the cause of all causes. He is the source of everything. Everything emanates from him. He is the Adi Purush. Okay. So this is our relationship with him. So this is the crux of this matter. First verse. Okay. Let's go to second. This is more. So the first verse gave us the knowledge or the gyan. Okay. Let's go to the second verse. Second verse is very beautiful. Second verse is actually very relevant to us, and this is the one that I'll spend longest time on. Third and fourth we will quickly review. Second is talking about, first was talking about absolute truth. Second is talking about relative truth. Relative truth means Vigyan, but relative truth is Maya. He's going to talk about his Maya, because remember, Brahmaji asked about his energies. So he's going to talk about his energy. So let's understand about Maya. Okay, so he says, Ritirtham yat pratiyeta na pratiyeta chatmani tadvidyad atmano mayam yatha bhaso yatha tamam. So here he says, pratiyeta word means that anything that appears to you of value, artham, rite, artham. Artham means anything that appears to you of value, okay, in this world. If Atmani means if it is not in relation to me, it is just illusion. Okay. So anything in this world that you use, that you see, separate from me, not connected to me, not in relation to me, then that is my Maya. Okay. So Maya in itself is not anything. Maya is a state of our mind. Okay. What is Maya basically? Maya is that mentality which uses things separate from Krishna. Nothing is separate from Krishna. Everything is coming from Krishna. Okay. She said, everything emanates from me. Everything is coming from Krishna. Krishna made this beautiful world, right? He made this beautiful mountains and oceans and such beautiful flowers and animals and seas and days and nights. I mean, it's pure poetry, like this days and nights, how they come and go, the sun and moon and planets and such beautiful world he created. Yet he has to call this beautiful world mithya or dukhalyam or ashashvatam because we are using this world, we're seeing this world separate from Krishna. We are not seeing his presence in it. We are not using things, people, everything here in service of Krishna. We are taking everything independently for our enjoyment, for our exploitation. And that is called, that mentality, that conception is called Maya. Okay. So this is the definition Krishna is giving here. He says, so let's read this. Oh Brahma, whatever appears to be of any value, pratyeta means artha means any value, appears means pratyeta. So whatever appears in this world to you of any value, like this laptop seems very valuable to me. But if it is in without relation to me, if you're not using it in relation to me, if you're seeing it separately from me, has no reality, then it is Maya. Okay. Then know that it is my illusory energy. Understand then that is my Devi Shakti, Atmano Mayam, Tad Vidya. Know that to be my Maya. Okay. And then he gives an analogy. Then he gives an example. Yatha bhaso yatha tama. Tama means darkness. Just like in darkness, there is abhas. Abhas means shadow. Just like in darkness, there are shadows or reflections, and you think that is real. For example, I'm going out in dark. Okay, I walk out in dark here. It'll get very dark here. And I walk out. And suddenly I step on something. And it looks like a snake. And now I'm going to become very fearful and start screaming and running because this was a snake. But that was actually not a snake. It was just a shadow of something. It was just maybe it was a rope. Prabhupada always gives this example. You mistook a rope for a snake. So this world was not a fearful place, but you are fearful because you are walking around amidst the shadows in the dark. Okay. So there are all these reflections, all these shadows, and you're stumbling around in the dark, separate from Krishna, because Krishna, Surya Sama, Maya Haya Andhakar. Jahan Krishna, tahan nahi Mayara Adhikar. Right? So Krishna is Surya Sama, but you don't have Krishna in your life. So everything is Andhakar. So all you're seeing is reflections and shadows and darkness, and you're stumbling around and you're creating these fears. You have created all these fears. You're thinking this rope is a snake. So this is what Maya does. You are seeing ditch where there is no ditch, right? And when there is actually a ditch, because of darkness, you can't see it and you fall into it. So Maya creates this avidya, this ignorance, where you see things that are not there and you don't see things that are actually there. This is what we talked about last time when we talked about the power of perception, how we are perceiving things wrong, right? For example, I'm perceiving that such and such person, let's say, is upset with me or doesn't like me, but that's just my perception, right? That's just my perception. I don't know what's going on in their heart. So Maya, because Maya creates this type of illusions, Maya creates this type of, because it's darkness. So in darkness, there are all types of fears and anxieties and negative emotions and disturbances and discomforts. And we think that that's reality. We don't know what the reality is. So if the light shines, then we can see the reality. So if we added Krishna in our life, if we did not take things separately from Krishna, then we will be able to see what the reality is. So this is one understanding of Maya, okay, to take things separate from Krishna. And the other understanding that Krishna gives as an example in this verses, that Maya is nothing but shadows in the dark. Yes.
When Duryodhan mentions looking at the armies and he counts Karna in it, it was not actually on the battlefield.
Right.
And he doesn't mention Krishna, it's actually on the battlefield.
Yeah. We are just seeing things, right? So we are seeing whatever we want to see in the darkness. So that is what I was talking about perception. We are not seeing things clearly as we should. So that's why we need to develop, we need to see things as they are. And how can you see things as they are? If you have the first verse, if you have knowledge of the absolute truth, that everything is coming from Krishna. So don't take things separate from Krishna. See this world in relationship to Krishna. Have that light in this world, and this world will become beautiful. So when we say, when we say these verses like Dukhalyam or Ashashvatam, Anityam, Asukham, Lokam, so people say, oh, you guys are so depressing. You talk about world in a very depressing, dismal way, as if this is such a dreadful place. So this is for materialistic people who take things separate from Krishna. For them, we say it is a dreadful place because it will only bring you misery, discomfort, and problems, because you are exploiting this world, you are exploiting the resources, the people, everything given here by Krishna. You are using Krishna's energy. Maya is nothing but energy of Krishna. You're using that energy of Krishna separate from Krishna. And that's why we have to use those words to kind of jar them out of their illusion, right? So they're an illusion. We have to shake them out of it. That's why we use such harsh words to break that, to detach them from this illusion. But for spiritual people, for devotees, that's why it is said, whether they go to Nark, whether they go to Swarg, whether they go to stay on this earth, it's all the same, because they're always connected to the Lord. And if you're always connected to the Lord, you're always in light. If you're always in light, then there is no fear, there is no anxiety, no disturbance, because you can see things as they really are. So this is the Maya. So this is this was the definition of Maya given in second verse. On another thing that in purport Prabhupada has mentioned, and many of our teachers mention when describing this CS2, is that also talk about power of Maya. Okay, so Maya, remember that it is an energy of Lord. It creates misconceptions. Remember last class again, power of perception. It creates illusions or misconceptions. So what it does is it takes you separate from Krishna. Okay, Maya Devi or Devi Shakti of Krishna is very powerful. She takes you away from Krishna. So that's why we have to be cautious of Maya. Devi esha gunmayi mammaya duratyaya mame vie prapadyante maya me tam taranti te. 7.14. Krishna says, my Devi Shakti, my inferior energy, illusory energy is very strong. It will take you separate from me. Okay. So, what Maya does is, these are very subtle things, but please understand, because we are doing these things on daily basis in our life. I'm doing it, I know. So Maya basically keeps you very artificially busy in this world. Like I was talking, we went for book distribution. So I was talking to somebody and he was saying, there is no time to read books. I'm busy. Like this was a doctor and he was saying, I have to do all this CME. I have to, so Maya keeps you busy in this world. So Maya creates all this artificial illusion that you have to do this, you have to take care of that, right? It keeps you separate from Krishna. So it keeps you separate from devotees also. So be very careful of that also. This is something very, very deliberately we have to understand. Maya will create confusions, misconceptions, and all those false perceptions with devotees also. So slowly it will remove you from the devotees. So be careful of that also, because being separate from Krishna basically means being separate from devotees. So it will create false conceptions. So Maya ko, if you read this purport of Prabhupada, CS2, if you read purport, second purport, Prabhupada says this word many, many times: misconceptions, misconceptions, misconceptions. So Maya ka dusra naam hai misconception. Okay, when sometimes we say illusion, right? Same thing, misconception. हमारे mind में ये misconceptions बनाती है about the world, about the people, about the situations, about the opportunities. जहाँ पे opportunity है वहाँ पे हमको problem दिखती है, जहाँ पे problem है वहाँ पर opportunity दिखती है. So this is what Maya does. Okay, so we have to be very and Maya keeps you also in forgetfulness of Krishna. Okay, it is basically an illusion. It creates this illusion. Okay. Okay. So also just one more point I want to clarify. You understand that there are two main energies of the Lord. What are the two types of Mayas of Lord? Can anybody name? Yes, inferior and superior energy. So Yog Maya, inferior energy is Mahamaya, superior energy is Yog Maya, right? Yog Maya and Mahamaya. Actually, it is said, if you read Prabhupada's purports very carefully, Prabhupada says this: energy is only one. How you use that energy makes it Yog Maya or Mahamaya. For example, electrical outlet is only one. If you connect that electrical energy into microwave, it will heat. things, if you connect it to a refrigerator, it will cool things. Same electrical energy is doing two different tasks depending on the appliance it is being plugged into. So same laptop, let's say, or phone, whatever, if given to, let's say, an ordinary person, they will use it for, let's say, some illicit activities, something whimsical, wasteful, capricious activities. But if you give to a devotee, he will use it in service, he will use for some useful purpose, right? For welfare of people or for other things like that. So same thing, but when in the hands of a devotee, it becomes Yogmaya. When in the hands of a ordinary person, it becomes Mahamaya. So how you use energy of the Lord makes it Yogmaya or Mahamaya. Yes, we often say that there are two energies of the Lord, but this is how it works. Okay. So so Maya is not Mahamaya or Yogmaya. If I'm using this in service of Krishna, this is not just because it's made of matter does not make it Mahamaya. It automatically becomes Yogmaya. Okay. So this is something to understand. So the utility of this verse is, this is a very important point. Utility of this verse is basically Krishna has said that use everything in relation to me, otherwise it is an illusion, right? You understand, Prabhupada has given us this concept very, very strongly many times that everything should be used in service of Krishna. Like this beautiful house, right? You could use this to arrange, like some kind of debauch gathering, or you can do kirtan like this, right? Sadhu Sangha like this. So in this way, just utilize everything in service of Krishna. Everything should be dovetailed with Supreme Lord. And we are also his energy, right? We are also basically wandering around like reflections or shadows in the dark. So if we also get connected to the Lord, basically, we can achieve our real spiritual identity, and we should become dependent on him. What we are trying to, the reason we are here in the first place is because we wanted to be independent. We wanted to enjoy separately from him. We wanted to have things for ourselves and not in service. So that's why we are stuck here in this material world in the first place. So we should have a dependent existence. We should depend on him and not try to achieve independence from him. So we are not independent. He said he's the first person, original person. We are coming, everything is emanating from him. So which means we are coming from him. So we should be engaged in his service. The part should be engaged in the service of the whole. Okay, so always that's when the part will be useful, if it is engaged in the service of the whole. Prabhupada gives an example कि जैसे कोई machine होती है, उसमें से if a screw falls off, the screw itself is of no use, right? Until that screw plugs itself into the machine, that screw is of no use. So we are also part of the whole. If we plug ourselves into the big system, the big machinery of Krishna, the supreme whole, the supreme original person, then we are useful because we are in his service. We are dependent on him. We are recognizing our servitude, our servant nature. Then we are we become whole ourselves. So this was second verse. Let's go to, so this is the Vigyan, okay, realized knowledge. So Gyan was about absolute truth. Vigyan was how do we apply this knowledge in this life is by understanding our position in this Maya, in this material world, and utilizing everything in service of Krishna. So this is Vigyan or realized knowledge. Everybody's following so far? Okay, if I was to ask CS1 ne kya bola, CS2 ne, you can say, tell me, right? Okay. So let's do CS3. CS3 is, let's recite. यथा महान्ति भूतानि भूतेषु चावचेष्वनु प्रविष्टानि अप्रविष्टानि तथा तेषु न तेष्वहम्. So this is 2.9.35. Remember we started from 33, 34, 35, right? So basically now he's saying, now we will go, this one is quick. So here Krishna is saying, just like all the, now he's giving an example. Yatha mahanti bhutani, just like the elements of this world, okay, bhutani means elements of this world, bhuteshu cha vacheshu anu, they enter into this universe and they do not enter into this universe. He said they enter and they do not enter. They exist within and outside of this universe, this cosmos. Similarly, pravishtani, apravishtani, I also enter and do not enter into this universe, okay? So he says, I also exist within everything and outside of everything. So we'll understand this in a second. So he said, please know that the universal elements enter into the cosmos and at the same time do not enter. Similarly, I myself enter into everything created and same time outside of everything. This verse, remember this verse, number 3, was about between Sambandh, Abhiday, Prayojan. It is about prayojan. It is about the outcome, the results. The first two verses were about sambandh. So prayojan means, what is this verse going to teach us? Krishna Prem, Prema Bhakti. So you'll say, how is this verse teaching Krishna Prem, right? He said that I'm in everything and outside of everything. So he's basically saying that advanced devotees, pure devotees have this vision. You don't have, we don't have. We can't see Krishna within and outside. But advanced devotees, pure Vaishnavas, they can see Krishna's presence, Krishna's plans, Krishna's participation in everything in their life. They can see it in the people. They can see it in the situations that have been arranged by Krishna. They see everything as arrangement of Krishna. They see Krishna in everything. They see everything in relationship with Krishna, and they do not use anything separate from Krishna, right? Because he's present within and outside of everything. So basically, this verse is saying seeing Krishna everywhere. Okay, so third verse is about seeing Krishna everywhere. Okay, so we have to develop that vision. So I posted this. We can all recite this together. Let's recite it. आनंद चिन्मया रस प्रतिभाविताभिस् ताभिर्य एव निज रूपतया कलाभिः गोलोक एव निवसति अखिलात्मभूतो गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि. So he said, you are present everywhere, but you're still performing your eternal pastimes in Golok Vrindavan. So Krishna is having fun in his pastimes in Golok Vrindavan. But pure devotees are not only able to see his presence in this material world, but they also have access to his leelas going on in the Golok also, right? So, but the main theme of this verse is seeing Krishna everywhere. Since I've been asking for verses, can anybody tell me any verse where Krishna says that you should see me everywhere, or you should develop a vision so that you can see me everywhere? Okay, that's equal vision. Okay, sort of, yes. So can you recite it? विद्याविनय संपन्ने ब्राह्मणे गविहस्तिनि शुनि चैवाश्वपाके च पंडिता समदर्शिना 5.18. Anyways, but thoda sa hai, lekin not very much. But I'll tell you few. Okay. So in Chaitanya Charitamrit, this is said, Sthavar Jangam dekhi na dekhi tara murti sarvatra haya nij ishta deva spurti. Sthavar Jangam. So what materialistic people do is they see beautiful deities of the Lord and they see matter in it, right? So that verse is saying they see matter in it. But devotees not only see Lord in the deities, of course, Lord is already there in the deities, but they can see presence of Lord in everything. Sarvatra haya nij ishta dev spurti. Everywhere they see, they can see their Ishtadev. Okay. And in Bhagavad Gita, 6th chapter, Krishna says, he says, Yo mam pashyati sarvatra sarvam cha mai pashyati tasyaham na pranashyami na cha me sa cha me na pranashyati. That I see those people everywhere that are able to see me everywhere, right? They never fall down from me there, and I'm never lost to them. So in this way, Krishna is seen everywhere. If you remember, we studied Ishopanishad, and in that also it was said that you are present near and far, in and inside and outside of everything. You're within and without. That verse also mentioned about this achintya aspect of the Lord. It is very weird. We cannot be inside and outside of a building, but Lord can be within the universe and outside. I can give you an analogy. This is somehow one of the ways I understand. Just हम painting करते हैं. Prabhuji's painting is an artist here, Chetan Prabhu. His painting is on the front of our calendar this year. So it's so beautiful. It's like, oh, it's mesmerizing. So you know that when we paint, right, that paint will manifest into a painting, right? So it's within that painting, but the paint is outside of the painting also. So similarly, and then that painting, yeah, so that's one analogy. There are many analogies like that. Basically, things come together, like let's say air. I have air within me, I have life air within me, but there is air around also, right? Similarly, Lord is achintya. Lord is inconceivable. So he's present within, without universe. He's here, he's everywhere, and yet he's also doing leelas in his Golok Dham also. So he's saying basically in third verse that you should develop this vision, which is to see me everywhere. Okay, and that's called Prema Bhakti. Okay, that's the prayojan, that's the ultimate goal.
So this is understanding. it's easy to understand about Krishna, about God inside, outside, within this universe, not in this universe. In Bhagavad Gita also he says that. And I'm within everything and not everything depends on me, but I'm not dependent on him. But how about the elements? How do you understand that? The first part of it.
So the elements, you know that the elements are unmanifested, right? That's why I gave the example of paints. Like paints are unmanifested. And then the artist makes a painting from that. So they become manifested. So, but there are still paints outside. So similarly, there are elements outside the universe, but then some of the elements come together to make a material world. But there are still elements outside of the material world, right? So, but here the point is he's giving that as an example to say that I also exist like that within and outside. So how do we see Krishna everywhere? How can we see Krishna everywhere? What do we have to do? We have to follow the process. So we have to go to the abhidaya, the process. So verse 4. So verse 4 will help. So this was the rahasya or supreme goal. And the verse 4 is basically where he says, yeah, we can say that also. You want to say? I can say that one. So Nagarjuna Prabhu is quoting a verse where Brahmaji himself says. So Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena Yam Shama Sundaram Achintaya Guna Swarupam Santa Sadeva Hridayeshu Vilokayanti Govindamadi Purusham Tamham Bhajami. So like that. So basically saying prem, like we should have eyes anointed with love. So Krishna prem is the highest goal, supreme goal. That's the rahasya. So very aptly quoted. So the last is Chatuh Shloki 4, where he's saying, let's recite this. Etavadev jigyasyam tatva jigyasunatmana anvaya vyatirekabhyam yatsyat sarvatra sarvada. I actually really like this verse because this is about the process. This is about us. This is about what we. So I really like the verse 2 and verse 4 because 2 tells us about Maya and how we should use Maya in relation to him, right? And the 4th verse tells us about the process. 3rd verse, I'm not able to see Krishna's presence or plans or participation everywhere, so I'm not connecting with it. But the verse 4 is basically he's saying, this is very beautiful. Please hear it very carefully. He says, Etavad eva. Etavad eva means up to this point. Up to this point means which point? Krishna prem. Jigyasyam tattva jigyasu. Okay. People that are curious about the science, people that are curious about absolute truth, they need to search for me. They need to search for the truth up to this point. What is the point? Krishna prem. The point where we can see Krishna everywhere, his presence in everything and everywhere. Up to this point, the people must try. And how should they try? Kaise bhi try karo. Okay. However you try, directly, anvaya, vyatireka, directly or indirectly. Try however you can, in all times, sarvatra sarvada. Okay, sarvatra means everywhere, sarvada means in all times. In all times and in all places, in all circumstances, keep trying to reach up to this point, directly or indirectly. Okay, so however you can, basically keep trying to reach up to this point. So he said, up to this point, one must certainly inquire, whether directly or indirectly, in all space, time, and all circumstances. Anvaya and Vyatireka are very, so Jigyasu here refers to the sadhakas, to the practitioners of devotional service, because we are practicing this path. So we need to keep trying somehow or the other, okay, yen kain prakarin mana Krishna niveshyet, right? One way or the other, somehow engage your mind in Krishna. But how should we do this? And then he says, Anvaya Vyatireka. He said, I guarantee you, Anvaya means if you do this, you will see the result. Okay, Anvaya का एक मतलब होता है कि अगर आप कुछ करोगे तो result मिलेगा. Like I tell my patient, if you take this medicine, it will happen. Vyatireka, if you don't do this, it will not happen. So he's giving us a prescription in this. If you keep searching for me somehow or the other in all times, place, and circumstances, it will happen. Okay, Anvaya means it will happen. Vyatireka means if you don't do this, it will not happen. So basically it is evidence-based. Only by practicing this can one achieve it. By not practicing this, one cannot achieve it. There is, if somebody says, give me some upay, I want to get Krishna prema by giving you millions of dollars or by some upay, by some yagya or karm kandi process or ritual or something. some कोई मेरे बाबा मेरे कान में कुछ मंत्र फूक दे या something. Nothing will work. The only thing is you have to follow the process. So he says, follow the process in all times and all places. Sarvatra sarvada is a phrase that is used in many verses in Srimad Bhagavatam. You can look for it, Sarvatra sarvada, which basically means that at all times, in all places and circumstances, we should stay engaged in the process of Krishna consciousness. So no matter what your situation is, right? Sukhe thako, dukhe thako, sada hari bole thako. Things will keep, external situations will keep changing. So you just have to stay focused on your Krishna consciousness and it will yield results. So he says, Anvaya means results will be seen by performing it. Vyatireka means results will not be seen if you don't perform it. Karoge to yes, nahi karoge to no. Okay, this is what he's saying. So this is, I don't think I have much more to go, just to kind of wind it up. So he said, a person who is searching after Supreme Lord must certainly search for it up to this point, in all circumstances, in all space and time, both directly and indirectly. So this was the, so remember Gyan, Vigyan, Rahasya, and the Tad Angam means the limbs or the process. So somebody already mentioned the 9 limbs of devotional service. Is there any other way of mentioning the limbs? So a lot of times we say, right, 5 limbs of devotional, 5 Panchang Bhakti bolte hai na, Rup Goswami has mentioned. Who has read Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu? So Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu or Nectar of Devotion is Rup Goswami's book. He has mentioned Panchang Bhakti. We say, right, Panchang Bhakti, ABCDE. ABCDE is not something that's just, it's coming from Rup Goswami. He's our Acharya. So what is the, so the verse, I'll just tell you the verse. He says, Sadhu Sangha Nam Kirtan Bhagavata Shravan Mathura Va Shri Murtira Shraddhaya Sevan, which you're doing all of this here today, right? You're doing Sadhu Sangha, you're doing Nam Kirtan, you're doing Bhagavad Shravan, you're doing Mathura Vas, because this home is none other than the pilgrimage, the Dham itself, right? Shri Murtira Aradhana, you're doing. So we are doing all 5 limbs today, right? So Shraddhaya Sevana. So this is what you do. This is the 5 limbs. So this is a Tadangam. This is what Krishna has instructed Brahmaji to do in CS4. He said somehow or the other do these things, and you will see the results. If you do this, you will see the results by, what was the word? Vyatireka yaad reh raha hai mujhe because I'm not doing it. So I'm remembering Vyatireka. Anvaya. Anvaya is, if you perform it, you will see the results. So this is Tadangam. Okay. So this is, I'll just summarize it. I don't have anything else. So basically the first verse told us who is the absolute truth or who is Krishna, CS1 verse 33. Then what is Maya? Okay, we talked about the utility of Maya, power of Maya. Okay, verse 34. Verse 35, CS3 was basically what is our goal? Goal is Krishna Prem, to see Krishna everywhere, Prema Bhakti. And how to achieve that goal is to somehow or other stay engaged in the process. Okay. So that was, this is just another, if you want to have a quick capture, basically. 33 is talking about Sambandh Gyan. It is about God or absolute truth. It gives you the Gyan or the knowledge. It tells you who is Krishna. 34 is also Sambandh Gyan, but it tells you about your position here in Maya. So it tells you about Maya, which is relative truth. So this is Vigyan, the realized knowledge, meaning because we are here, so we have to apply this knowledge here in the midst of Maya. So this is Vigyan, and this tells you what is Maya. 35 was about Prayojan, the result, the ultimate goal, which is Prema Bhakti, the outcome, also known as Rahasya. So it tells you what is a goal. 36 is Abhidaya, which is the process of Sadhana Bhakti, Tadangam, the limbs, and how to achieve that goal. Okay, so this is our Chatuh Shloki Bhagvatam. First verse, he said, I alone existed before, during, and after the existence. Second thing we talked about, see things as they really are. Don't fall into the trap of Maya. Don't stumble around in the shadows, in the dark. Okay. Third is see Krishna everywhere. Okay. 4 is follow the process. Okay, that's all I have to share. Thank you, everyone. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, वांछा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिद्धिभ्यश्च पतितानां पावने वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. जय श्री राधे श्याम. Hare Krishna. Any questions? Maybe 2-3 minutes. Yes.
Right now, sitting in class, we can absorb it, but then we forget, you know, like when we try to make whatever our prescribed duty, see including Krishna into it, when we can't, or sometimes, let's say you're studying for instance, you can listen to Chatuh with listening to Kirtan, doing it for Krishna, doing it that way. But then when we get into, let's say, negative outcomes, or when we get deviated from path, it becomes really hard for us to remember that that is also separate that from how even doing something to if we're in Kirtan, if our mind is somewhere else, then it's also
Yeah.
you're not engaged in that the other things. So how do we, I guess, deal with this aspect?
Very nice question. So, first of all, I just wanted to clarify one thing before I answer. You said when we are studying, you don't need to have kirtan playing, we just study. Hopefully, it's so when we say we are doing it for Krishna, does not mean that we need to be necessarily studying with devotees, or when we are studying for Krishna. That intention means that I am going to use these results in service of Krishna. Whatever he decides, I will accept, right? He has put me in such a position where I have these resources and facilities to be able to study, and through my parents he has exerted his will that I should score well, right? So with that intention and mindset, I'm studying. But studying with Krishna consciousness does not mean that we have to kirtan and be studying with devotees, and devotees have no idea about the subject. It's not like that, right? You study with whoever is good at that subject, from the teacher. It doesn't have to be a devotee teacher. Just clarifying. So somewhere you were saying about kirtan, I'm like, hopefully they're not playing the kirtan. Right, Bhakti Vinod Thakur, right? He's when he's doing his job, he's dressing up the part of a magistrate. He's going and doing his service. So it's not like, okay, if I'm going to operating room theater, I'm going to go with the not kantiwala is there, but in my Vaishnav attire. No, that's not that attire. So whatever is needed, you do accordingly. But that's just a side point. But I know your point is basically that when things don't go the right way, or you become distracted, your faith dwindles, you're not able to stay in Krishna consciousness, right?
We're still doing, but the taste, or sometimes it sounds like it's just probably the same. She's saying that give you more stuff and you can also the times also create that way. We have time to go. But then in instances where we're unable to give your attention to loving and encouraging him without knowing without that, okay, this is, let's say, oh, wow, I'm going to have perfect life, without knowing that outcome. Sometimes you can get that, how to keep yourself.
So I'll just say this, basically this takes a lot of practice, right? It's a lot of deliberate application. We talked about this last time also. It's very deliberate, conscious application of this knowledge on a daily basis, multiple times. Invoke the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita and apply it very, very deliberately. Like you will feel, let's say, distracted, or you will feel the faith is dwindling, or you will feel that I'm not happy with this outcome and I should be happy because Krishna has given it to me. So very, very deliberately, you will have to bring that mindset in. So it will take a lot of practice, and Krishna says that practice and detachment. So he said to Arjun, he said it in context of mind, but actually everything is mind. We talked about that last time, that all these things we perceive in this world, failure, dejection, distraction, right? Kirtan mein man nahi lag raha, somewhere else, all this is coming from mind only. Focusing on the negatives of people or negatives of situations, right? I wanted 90% marks and I got 85, let's say. So that is all in the mind, ultimately, all in the mind. So ultimately, Krishna's teaching is Asamshayam mahabaho manodurnigraham chalam abhyasen tu kaunteya vairagyena chagriyate. So no doubt, it is very difficult to control this mind. It will take you towards the negative aspects or towards the maya, towards various distractions of this world. But with practice and detachment, abhyas and vairagya. So on a daily basis, practice to bring Krishna in your life, daily basis, read Bhagavad Gita as frequently as possible, just like we nourish our body with our food, right? You have to nourish your consciousness with Bhagavad Gita or with Sadhu Sangha so that when these difficult things happen, then you're prepared for it, right? So then and we are students, right? That's why we are practitioners. We are sadhakas. We have not reached our sadhya. So abhi Delhi bahut dur hai, right? So basically it's a long way to go. So we have to keep practicing. We will stumble, fall. There will be situations where we will get distracted, where we'll not be 100% focused or will focus on the negative outcomes, or not be completely absorbed in Krishna's plans and not be able to accept Krishna's plans or arrangements for us. But the more deliberately we can start sort of bringing that type of consciousness, that type of mindset, and start mind ko thoda behla lo, right? Like start talking to your mind in such a way that, hey, it's okay. This is what Krishna's plans are for me. This is Krishna's arrangement for me. And same thing with kirtan, getting distracted. Okay, let's bring mind back to the kirtan, like that. So with deliberate practice and detachment on a daily basis. And I'm also struggling, all of us are, because we are students. So anybody else has any questions? Such a nice question, Mataji. This is very practical, very important. But all these answers are there in Bhagavad Gita. I just wanted to give you a taste of Chatuh Shloki Bhagvatam. So the 4 verses where Krishna says that how he's everything. He's the origin, the father, mother, the grandfather are the supreme person, and that we should not use anything separate from him. And if you do, that's Maya. And then what did he say in verse 3? CS3, let's see who knows. He said, see me everywhere, right? That I'm present within and without everything, just like material elements are present within and without everything. I'm also present everywhere. So see everything, every situation as my arrangement, my plan, see my participation. Like devotees are able to see Krishna's participation in their life. They'll often talk like that, right? They often say, Krishna ne ye kiya hai. This happened by Krishna's mercy, by Krishna's arrangement. Even if something bad happens, they'll say, this was Krishna's plan for me. Jo hari ichha, Prabhupada used to say, Jo hari ichha. And in the 4th verse, we said that if we follow this process, somehow or the other, just stay connected to Krishna consciousness, we will get there. We'll reach our sadhya. Okay. Yes, Prabhu.
Krishna mentioned that he existed before anybody else. So, how do you understand how living beings is part and parcel of Krishna? So, you will explain.
Yes, Prabhu. So this is a little difficult for us to understand. And the reason for the difficulty in understanding this concept is we are here in this world. In this world, time factor predominates. Okay. Kalka prabhav hai. So time factor is very strong. So we are always in the influence of time, right? Like right now I'm watching my watch that, oh, my time is run out, right? Like I had to finish 10 minutes back. So we are very much controlled by time in this world. We are with time, our body deteriorates, old age happens, diseases happens. With time, the day and night comes. We have to wake up in the morning, have to sleep at certain time, go for work at certain time. So we are because of our long existence in this world, we are very conditioned to time. But in spiritual world, time factor does not exist, or it exists, but in a different way. It does not control anything. The world is not dependent on time. In this material world, everything is dependent on time. Time is a very strong energy. Kal Shakti is a very strong energy of the Lord. Since it controls us, it is very difficult for us to fathom a situation where things are timeless. Okay, so where nothing existed. So we are always thinking that there is a timeline where there was time 0 when only he existed and nobody else existed. But actually it's not like that. It's not like that there was time 0. I'm trying to explain this in a way that it appeals to all of us who are controlled by time. Since we are controlled by time, it is very difficult to even conceive a timelessness. But so we have to take his word for how he's saying it, that he was the first person. And I don't know how first means when there is no time. It's inconceivable. That's why our philosophy is called achintya, where it's difficult. Some parts of of the Krishna Tattva of absolute truth, are difficult to understand because we don't know how he existed and how we came from him. But we understand that his associates and his abode eternally exist. So when he says that I was the first person, he's saying this in relation to the material world. Okay, एक बात तो मैंने आपको timelessness की बताई. Second point now I'm explaining to you is when he's giving us Chatuh Shloki 1, he's giving us in relation to material world. That before this material world got created, I was the only one. He was there, his abode was there, Vaikuntha, and the associates in the Vaikuntha were there. But material world did not exist. So he existed before the material world, during the creation, and after also he will remain. So he's saying it in context with the material world, like that. But in context of eternity, it is difficult for us to understand how things happen. Does that make sense? Somewhat, okay. It's the timelessness is very difficult to come out of because we are very much here. But this is said in context to the material realm, that it is before, during, and after material creation that I still continue. But nice question, Prabhu. Yeah, I was also thinking about this and didn't really understand much myself. Any other questions? Kids have anything? Vinita, Nabya? Anybody? Okay, so we'll stop. Okay, thank you everyone. We will maybe continue with the Kirtan or Aarti. Thank you so much for joining. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Mataji. We are going to stop the call. Thank you for joining. Do you have any questions, Mataji?
No, Mataji, that was wonderful, I have to say. It was very, very, very nice. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.